Hey everybody, Howard Jacobson here from Sick to Fit, Well Start Health, Plant Yourself. And today I want to talk about changing minds. And the reason this is on my mind is that I am in the middle of an audiobook by Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay called Impossible Conversations. And in the book, they teach us how to have conversations with people who disagree with us, with people for whom our points of view might be repulsive and their points of view might be repulsive to us. So I was thinking about this a lot based on some of the shouting matches that I got into down at the Pittsburgh courthouse with people waving Confederate flags and insisting that Confederate era statues be allowed to stay at the courthouse. And I was arguably inelegant. I didn't change anyone's mind. And so, and while I have a lot of issues with the authors of this book in terms of their own views on things and their own certainty that their views and that their epistemology, their ways of knowing are actually superior to other ones, I don't think I'd really enjoy hanging out with them. I find the book very useful. And it occurred to me that whose mind is hardest to change that matters in our lives? And for me, the answer is almost always my own. Right? If I could have the tools to change my own mind, to believe things I don't believe, that would give me the ability to try things that I don't currently try, to accomplish things I don't currently give myself the chance to accomplish, and to have an impact on the world in ways in which I'm currently not. So, in psychology and New Age and pop stuff, we talk about limiting beliefs and how to overcome limiting beliefs. And the trouble with limiting beliefs is that they are, by definition, limiting, and that they are, by definition, beliefs. They're not something, we don't choose our beliefs. So if I believe that, for example, I'm never going to be able to stick with a diet program and lose the weight. And I have plenty of evidence in my past for this belief because I've never stuck with a diet program and lost the weight, or I lost it and put it back on because I didn't stick with it long enough. So it's a belief, and that belief, and I'm speaking now as the coach and the teacher of people who come to me with this belief, that belief, if left untreated, unexamined, unresolved, is going to stop the person from succeeding now. Doesn't matter how great a coach I am. Doesn't matter if I give them the perfect diet with the exact micro and macro nutrients. It doesn't matter any of that. If they have this fundamental belief that I can't do it, they're not going to do it. They're not going to try, and they're going to interpret every setback as more proof, more confirmation of their belief. So this is what is known in the trade as a lack of self-efficacy. And we all have lacks of self-efficacy in various areas of our lives, and a lot of them, they don't matter, and a lot of them, they might be, justified. Like, it's a good thing that I'm not like, my co-author Garth Davis can perform bariatric surgery, and I'm as smart as he is. Why don't I just go and try it? Like, bad idea. There's a good reason to have self-efficacy doubts and to have self-efficacy put a brake on some of our activities because we shouldn't be doing them. But when it comes to things like behaviors, habits, outcomes that we want, and we're human beings, and we are heirs to all of the vast, complex baggage of human experience, including stick-to-itiveness, sustainability, focus, positive habit loops, then we recognize that our belief, our limited self-efficacy, is not looking at the whole picture. One of the reasons this happens is that when we have a belief, we tend to look at the world through that belief. This is called confirmation bias. So we only see the things, we only notice the things, we only register and count and tally and weigh the things that support this perspective. So I'll have somebody come to me, they've been working at WellStart or working with me for a couple of weeks, and they'll come back and they'll say, I had a terrible week. Everything went to hell with my eating. And so imagine what that means. What would you think that would mean if someone said, my eating just went to hell? And so we all have images of what that would look like for ourselves. And here's the secret of being a coach is you don't believe your own movie that's playing in your head superimposed on someone else's reality. You ask them about it. And so very often the conversation will go like this. Really? It totally went to hell? Yeah, it was awful. So tell me more. Well, on Tuesday, I stopped off for a soda at Arby's on the way home. And then on Wednesday, I had 3 slices of pizza. Somebody brought in pizza at lunch. And what else? Well, that was it. So the week went to hell means they had a soda and 3 slices of pizza out of all the opportunities they had for eating. And when they hear, and so when I then reflect that back to them and say, okay, so that was there anything else that was out of whack with your eating? I said, no, that was it. I said, okay, so this week you had a soda and 3 slices of pizza. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah. Then I'll be quiet. And 99 times out of 100, I go, oh yeah, I guess it wasn't that bad. I just felt really bad about it at the time. So I say, well, can we reframe this? Like, what did you do after the pizza on Wednesday? Well, I got right back on. I said, oh, what was that like? I said, well, felt good. Great. So you had a slip up and you got right back up onto the program. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah. In the past, was that a pattern that we would have seen? Well, no. When I screwed up, I would just keep screwing up. I figured it was over. Right? So by looking at the specifics, by digging down past the generalities, as coaches, we can help people uncover what's really going on and make better assessments. And based on reality, they can then make new plans to do better in the future. So whenever we hear others saying always and never, then we know that there's some level of confirmation bias, of generalization that's keeping them. There's a veil between them and what's really going on. And we do this ourselves too, do we not? Oh, we talk to ourselves, or we reinforce our limiting belief. I could never give up sugar. I'm not a morning person. I talk about a giant generalizable statement that doesn't necessarily, what does that mean? I would rather sleep than get up and go to my shitty job. Well, does that make you not a morning person? When you were a kid on Saturday morning, did you not jump out of bed and excited for the day? Right? Maybe what changed wasn't you, but your role in this economy. So, confirmation bias is one of the things that keeps us stuck. So the habit that I want to suggest that we practice for a little while, and maybe for more than a little while, is a new mental habit called DisConfirmation Bias. DisConfirmation is the fancy philosophical term for proving something wrong, for looking for how is this not true. So when I hear myself make a global belief statement about myself that limits me in some way, that if I believe this, it doesn't do me any good. Well, I could never write a best-selling book. I could never have a podcast as popular as Joe Rogan's. All right. Once I hear myself believing, maybe saying it out loud to someone, or just thinking it, or thinking about, okay, I'm going to do a promotion for the podcast. I'm going to spend some money to make my website, to Plant Yourself website more beautiful, which I need to do because I broke my website yesterday morning. I have no idea how, but all of a sudden it looked terrible and I couldn't figure out how to get it back the way it was. So I panicked and I spent $73.68 on a new WordPress theme, which looks a little hideous. It looks like more of a mixed martial arts website than a happy health plants website. Well, I'll get it, figured out. But if the voice in my head is why bother, because you're never going to be as popular as Joe Rogan or as Rich Roll or Malcolm Gladwell or Neil Barnard or anyone else who has a successful podcast, that limiting belief is going to stop me from trying, or it's going to stop me from trying hard enough, because some part of me doesn't want to be wrong. I'd rather be right than successful and happy. How crazy is that? Right? It's like, well, see, told you couldn't do it. Maybe I was still trying to get back at my parents for something they did when I was 2. I can't remember. So the habit now is to, when I hear myself with one of these global beliefs, that, and essentially the litmus test for me is it feels yucky. So it could be a global belief about myself. It might be easier to start with a global belief about somebody else, right? Oh, all cops are racist. Okay. So it's also kind of a yucky feeling. It's certainly tied to a lot of strong social views related to things that I've experienced and groups that I'm a part of. And when I hear myself say it, I can clearly hear that it is not globally true. So the DisConfirmation habit involves asking a bunch of questions. When is this not true? Where is this not true? Under what conditions is this not true? Or under what conditions is this not completely true? So if my view is I will never be a really top-tier successful podcaster, I can look for all the evidence. Look, I've just produced 355 episodes, 356 tomorrow. Like, if I haven't made it by now, when am I ever going to make it? Or look at the download numbers. Or look, I haven't even cracked $1,000 a month in Patreon. I'm still footing most of the bill for this. It's still amateur hour. So I say, well, when am I a successful podcaster? In what ways am I a successful podcaster? So, well, you know what? I've never advertised the show ever. I've never paid for promotion. I haven't done almost any of the things that podcasters do. In fact, I just started making the podcast without telling anybody. And it's grown from nobody listening to between 5,000 and 10,000 listeners a week. Well, maybe that's pretty successful. And if I can get it from 0 to 10,000 without doing anything, presumably it's easier to get from 10,000 to 100,000 than it was to get from 0 to 10,000. So all of a sudden I'm saying, well, under what conditions was my original belief that I can't be a successful podcaster? In what ways, in what conditions, under what circumstances can I disconfirm it? And if I'm looking at, political issues, or looking at something like everyone who likes Trump must be a racist. So I can ask myself, is that true under all circumstances? Under what circumstances might that not be true? And the point is here not to abandon your ethics, your morals, your belief system, but to get in the habit of questioning things that are useful to question. So I don't know for you if political views are worth questioning. For me, they feel important because I'm getting more involved in political activism. And so if my activism is simply holding up signs and screaming at the other side, which I've done quite a bit in the past month around this Confederate flag and Confederate monument issue. And I go home feeling like, well, I have just modeled the exact behavior that I criticize the other side for engaging in. So I want to see if I can practice disconfirmation of the beliefs that demonize those people in my mind, so that maybe I can have conversations that are more fruitful, that create some common ground, that maybe even convert some people to a more reasonable, rational, loving perspective. It's not about saying, well, maybe they're right and I'm wrong, and maybe I'll go over to their side. At least it isn't for me right now. I can't foresee that happening. But it is getting into the habit of not being so damn sure of myself. And that takes humility. And it's a real humility. It's not the kind of humility that comes from, oh, I'm not a runner. I'm too lazy. I can't get up in the morning. I can't resist donuts. That's not humility. That's posturing. That's excuse making. True humility is when you can look at yourself and say, here is where I can improve. Here's where I can grow. Here's where I can become more fully, authentically myself by letting go of masks, letting go of limitations, letting go of self-limiting beliefs that have felt safe. If I'm not a morning person, then I'm safe. I don't have to prove anything. Look, I don't even have to try. But if I have the humility to question that and say, under what circumstances might I become a morning person? Then shit, I got to get up in the morning. That's uncomfortable. That's scary. And what if I go to all my friends and they're all still doing their thing, and I've been making fun of, people who exercise for decades and hanging out with them and drinking beer and eating buffalo wings, and now all of a sudden I'm going to say, hey, I'm thinking of cleaning up my diet and trying to run a 5K. Uh-oh. Now I have to be humble enough to get ribbed. Be humble enough to face the music of my tribe that may feel like I am now trying to separate from them or judging them or feeling better than them. Scary stuff. But that's real humility. Real humility is thinking that I could be better tomorrow than I am today. I could have better opinions than I have today. I could be closer to the truth. And that means everything that I think I am and have and know is in some sense up for grabs. And I'm willing to put it up for grabs, right? Real humility can only be based on confidence. If I thought, if I question my beliefs, what if they all fall apart and I have nothing? That's based on not confidence. People who are confident at some core level can risk more humility. And so that's a kind of a chicken and egg. How do we become more confident? And, the answer is we can become confident by doing, by taking small risks that even if we're not that confident, if we lose, we haven't lost that much. Let me try to get up 10 minutes earlier and walk to the end of the driveway and back. Let's see if that is a test of my morning personitude. Right? And then more and more and more, so that our confidence gets built by our actions, as opposed to our actions needing to be based on a confidence that we have to mentate on, talk ourselves into, cogitate on, create out of thin air between our ears, not based on new feedback from the environment. It's coming to the end of the year. If you'd like to work on these issues, I would be honored to talk to you about becoming your coach for 2020. Your 2020 coach. It's got a ring to it, doesn't it? Check out plantyourself.com/laser, Laser, all lowercase, if you'd like to find out about my signature coaching program. It's for an entire year, unlimited 15-minute calls that get recorded, and you get an email from me right after, including a link to the recording, the homework that we agreed upon, and a link to self-schedule your next 15-minute session when you've done or attempted the homework to the point where you've learned something new, and so we can keep moving forward. And I'm pretty sure whatever you think it costs, it's less, unless you know absolutely nothing about coaching. When I was doing corporate coaching, $2,000 a month for 4 half-hour sessions is pretty well par for the course at the level that I was working. I don't charge that. I don't ask that. My goal is to help as many people as possible, and so the coaching is priced in such a way that I get to have a sustainable life. I'm not trying to amass a fortune. I'm not trying to build an empire, but it's something that compensates me fairly and sustainably for my time. So check it out, plantyourself.com/laser, if you would like to make 2020 the year that you disconfirm a whole bunch of limiting beliefs about your health and your health behaviors and your integrity. Other thing is the retreat, the Josh Howie retreat in New Orleans, full steam ahead, booked a place, and now we got to fill it. So if you'd like to hang out with me and Josh and a bunch of health seekers to create a really safe space for learning, for growing, to create a community, and to have a great time in one of the world's most exciting cities, a city that a lot of us who eat healthy and live healthy don't put on our bucket list because we don't think we can do it. Josh is going to show us how we can do it, how we can enjoy some of the best music in the world, the most amazing architecture, the greatest culture, and the greatest food, but doing it on our terms, healthy, walking, taking streetcars, biking, whatever your legs allow you to do. We're going to create that experience of an intimate retreat in New Orleans. It's almost like a clinic on healthy living. Instead of New York, New York, it's New Orleans, Louisiana. If you can do it there, you can do it wherever you are. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you again later. Bye.